Give me 21 minutes and I will tell you how to manipulate the energy field to attract everything in silence, including women you want, and how you can use that energy to get what you want. First thing, why do you want to manipulate women? Why do you want to use energy to manipulate women and get women that you want? I want that answer first. Like, why do you want to form a specific nature in your existence so that you can manipulate someone to be obsessed or to want you? You have to answer that question first. When you know the answer to that, then you will know you might be applying the actions in the wrong direction. That is why it's not working out for you. You have to be aware of two rules. The first rule, they have to be experiencing the consciousness that your energy is also operating on. Again, Isaac, that lady, your ex, your wife, your girlfriend, the lady you want to get, your recent friend that you really admire, they must be operating on a specific consciousness, on a specific perception, because that perception gives them a specific feeling. And the feeling is the emotion, and the emotion is the energy in motion. So she must be operating on a specific consciousness that matches with your consciousness for you to manipulate her. And if it doesn't match with your consciousness, your form of operation, your frequency, then you have to act in ways that confirms that you are in the same frequency she is in, not that you are in the same frequency, but she has that perception. For example, I meet with Hannah and then I tell her I want a serious relationship. I make her move on Hannah in the front end game, trying to have a serious relationship with Hannah. That is what I am communicating to Hannah. But the fact is, I don't really want a serious relationship. I just want someone who can be there because maybe I am going through a lot. Maybe I am the CEO. I want a side chick, right? She wants a serious relationship. So she will perceive you as a guy who also wants a serious relationship because your actions and your body language means what? You want a serious relationship. But the motive behind that is what? The motive is you want a side chick who can be there for you. How you take her out on a date, your action, your body language, it's being applied effortlessly because you really want a side chick, but you don't want someone you can date long term. She wants a man she can date long term, right? She was heartbroken. She hasn't worked on herself. And this guy is giving her some validation. You are Isaac acting in a specific way. You are delivering a specific perception to her. That perception is the energy you are using through your action and your body language. But she will perceive it differently because she is also in a negative state of frequency. The negative state of frequency is she is suffering deep down internally. She hasn't worked on herself internally. Even if your motive is negative, but your action and your behavior is positive, and sometimes you call her because you need a side chick, the motive is negative. So your frequency is negative. So you aren't attached to this lady. Even when she can see the body language, it's positive, and your actions shows that you really want a serious relationship, her energy is highly attracted to your energy. So you might think your tactics is working on her, but it's all the energy that exists in you that isn't working on her. So until she works on herself, she is in a specific consciousness and she perceives a specific definition of reality in her own life, and that is a state that she is consistently living in. That is why it's easier for you to manipulate her energy. So you are not manipulating Hannah. You are only manipulating her energy by convincing her that you care, but you are detached, for you only want a side chick. When you want a long-term goal, most of the time the actions will be different. you will end up investing in her. So you won't be detached from this lady. You will be attached. When you are attached, you expect a return on investment. So your frequency of operation will be positive. So if she is in a negative state of frequency, there is a higher chance that you are operating, both of you, from a different place, in a different state of being. And something will just be off. She will perceive it, or you will perceive it. You will identify it, both of you, maybe. That is another fact. So, for you to manipulate me, Isaac, you have to know which consciousness I am operating on. But you can't know, because my actions and my behavior might be different. And you can read me through my face, but how I am acting, the motive behind it, it might be negative. Because I am frequently and consistently acting on a negative state of energy, and I can only feel attracted to you if you are also acting from a negative state of energy. Let me give you a story. I used to go buy some boots in a specific shop, right? But then the owner of the shop will seem so harsh. It used to bother me a lot. I think I was around 20 years. Sometimes I could cry the way he used to treat me. But me crying, I was feeding him. It triggers some part of me. That is maybe an emotional part of me. That is the energy that exists in me, because maybe I was still dealing with the heartbreak. Someone who was acting in the same way, and it could trigger that. So I was in that phase. I was in that state. I was in a negative state of frequency. So every time he acted, it could trigger me. But the one weird thing is I could still go back and buy the shoes, buy the boots. Maybe I was seeking validation. But the fact is, I was operating on a negative state of frequency, ending up to feel more attracted to a negative state of frequency. But I think that when I buy the boot, I am getting validation, for the guy will somehow talk to me, he will appreciate me, he will be nice to me. But the fact is, I was operating on a negative state of frequency. So it was easier for him to tap into my energy and manipulate my energy. For he was finding a loophole to trigger my state of being. That is the frequency that existed in me. Right now, if I go back to buy some shoes or a boot, then he tells me or acts in a certain way that is negative, it doesn't affect me. The boot costs $50. But then he will increase the price from $50 to $60 or $70 with a negative tone and hashing. They have already displaced a notice that you can bargain. He raises up the price with a harsh tone, but it doesn't really affect me. I just find myself telling him, okay. Then I walk away. When I respond in that way, he gets so frustrated, disappointed, and angry. I'm like, okay. And he's not able to manipulate the energy that exists in me, because I have already dealt with it. So you can manipulate any lady you want in a specific way to get a specific return. But when she moves from that state of being, from that frequency, from that energy, it will never have an impact on her, and you will consistently burn out, for you are acting in a certain way to get a specific return, trying to manipulate the energy field. For example, I own a business, and maybe I want to solve some people's problems. The first thing that I need to be aware to get the return that I want is I must have the skill to effortlessly solve that problem and not pretend like I can solve it. I must own that. That is the first thing. You don't pretend that you have the confidence. You must have the confidence, and you own it. It becomes part of your life. Now that is something that you own, you have, and you are consistently evolving to make it better, so that you can solve anything effortlessly. Even when you meet any client, maybe they don't want to give you a deal, right? In the back of your mind, you know you can do that work so good. Most of the trick that I have seen most people apply, and don't use this for if again you have to be able to deliver their services, because you can dominate and manipulate the energy field, but then if you can't deliver the services, they won't be able to come back. So at first sight, this is in the front end game. Maybe they are also looking for someone who can serve them better. I have seen so many clients dominating the conversations, but at the same time, they are totally detached. Like emotionally, what they talk about, it makes sense, and it's even emotional. And you can easily be convinced that they care about your problem. They feel so sorry, but at the same time, instant time, they are totally detached. It's as if they are living two lives in one, so that when the deal doesn't go through, it doesn't disappoint them. But they are so determined to get the deal done. But at the same time, they have a skill that they can apply effortlessly and they can deliver. That is the trick I have observed most of the people apply in businesses. I can do it so well that no one else can do it. But again, in the moments of conversing, I don't talk about how expensive something is, but I sway the conversation and dominate it to talk about the value of the service and how you are benefiting more from me paying for that service, and I am charging you less. So it's as if you owe me more. And at the same time, they are detached to the result. So they care so much to an extent, they are detached to the result. I don't know how that applies to you, but it's as if at the same time they are enjoying the experience of knowing someone and how other people and how other clients act and behave. So it's all a form of energy. You have that frequency of a kid inside you, whereby you act so emotional as if you really need this thing, but you have it under control. It has its own place. So you find people, specific clients that you can apply that frequency on. You practiced unknowingly. For engaging with some clients, they trigger some part of you that will act in a certain way, and that action will convince them. But at the same time, in that very moment, they have a way of controlling the emotions not to overpower the frequency that needs to be in charge. And the frequency that needs to be in charge is the frequency of a man who has confidence and not a kid who is crying and emotional. So the same to you, Isaac. You act as if you want my help. Sometimes you are emotional. And you are not really emotional, but being emotional triggers me. And until I can be triggered emotionally because I care about people who act in an emotional way, it won't have an impact on me. So you won't be able to manipulate the energy field. So you have to find the right victim. That is another thing. You might think that you have found the right victim, but they are now totally detached. I'm having this conversation because of this one guy. I don't know his name. Let me hope I will put his comment right here. If I find that comment, he was asking about manipulating the energy field to get deals done in businesses. Like most of the time, the only way I have, for example, in businesses, most of the time, people who lead, who are in charge, leaders, most of them, they have the power of controlling the situation. Not that they are really controlling it, but they have the power of controlling people's energy. And you end up realizing that most people are triggered or they are addicted to the negative energy. So these people are consistently operating on a negative energy because that is the only way they have found to control everyone. Either you are triggered to the negative energy, so that will reinforce you to do what they want you to do by pushing, forcing, acting as if they are dominating, they are in power. But then others, they're just addicted to that personality because of their parents. They feel good being dominated, being controlled, and they feel good that someone who is in power somehow, he resembles my father, he resembles maybe the last ex I had. So we can say that it's toxic, narcissistic, and all that, but most human beings are acting this way, reinforcing the negative energy to be on the operation. And until you know that, the one who is operating on the positive frequency most of the time, he ends up being emotional. So unless you are aware that the negative energy is consistently always operating in charge, and you need to detach from that negative energy by knowing the frequency of someone's operation is their operation, and it has nothing to do with you. And you can only know that by knowing your triggers. You can end up attracting any lady you want because you really admire her. And maybe you want her to be your side chick. Maybe you want her to be your girlfriend. Maybe you want to have a serious relationship with her. And maybe at the moment you can effortlessly attract her. But she is in a phase of maybe trying to look for a guy she can have fun with. For that communicates confidence that maybe she can have an illusion that some other male wants her. And she only needed someone who can want her for her to again feel good about herself. And she is consistently relying on validation from men. Okay, my ex walked away and he cheated on me, right? Maybe at the moment when we were dating, my ex was trying to have fun with me because he was also going through some shit. And spending time with me allows him to escape the heartbreak that he had with his ex. But at this moment, I am investing in him because he is not attached. And spending time with this guy, I am constantly trying to get his approval because I have to do a lot of things. So my frequency of operation is negative. His frequency of operation is negative. One day he will get his shit together and his operational frequency will change from negative to positive. That is why the moment you try to work on yourself to be a good person, sorry about that, you are great, it triggers the lady who is around. She might end up walking away because she only lives in a perception of consistent approval. When you become a better guy, you are operating from a positive frequency. She is operating from a negative frequency and it's colliding. You will notice that the energy is not working on her eventually if you are consistently burning out, but then she's not maybe liking you. She is detaching. She is calling you less. That is a confirmation that your frequency of operation is totally different from her frequency of operation. For example, if she wants to have fun, you want to have fun, the frequency of operation, it's an entity that has been created by your senses, analyzations, calculations that cannot be seen. But both of you want the same thing. And until she wants the same thing you want, the calculations are different. Sometimes calculations might be different because you can trigger something in her state of being, and that is the energy. And she thinks she needs to solve that energy to get you figured out and have her things together. If you are willing to manipulate the energy field to get a result, then be prepared to use more energy. And at the same time, be prepared to be disappointed by the law of polarity. Because you will consistently be pushing the women who are on a higher state of being, which is on a higher self. Women that you will consistently be attracting are the women who will be on a low frequency. So they are attracted to you for you deliver a specific perception of their reality. And the moment you move from this frequency to a different frequency, they will not feel attracted to you. You ask me, I met with this lady, she was highly attractive. She really liked me, she really was vibing with me. But then she disappeared. She realized that your state of being, your frequency is totally different from her frequency. But what she knows at the moment physically is she just doesn't like you. But her calculations and your calculations are not on the same page. If I'm going through some shit and I want a guy to have fun with, my calculations are he must act in a certain way, deliver a specific perception, give me a specific reality. You also want to have fun, you have the same calculations, but these calculations are being done in the moments of conversation and they are being analyzed in that state and consciously. For every deliver you give, every act you give, it gives a specific perception of reality depending on how they have already framed you and categorized you. But you are not aware. All you know is you also want a specific return from her. Are you a new member? Have you been enjoying this? Welcome on board.